Alright, so welcome back to another scenario video. This is Thursday's video. Tuesday was what if the Green Team won the Libyan Civil War in episode 86. So, yeah, I'm keeping it consistent, and hopefully y'all will enjoy. But this is the scenario, what if every Muslim nation united? And, I used Reddit for this, so this might be wrong, but I don't care to do the research. But yeah, these are all the nations, and I put the capital in Baghdad, so it's like more central, I guess. But we're gonna be taking a look. What if they went imperial? And we're not gonna be taking a look at like the economy and military because that stuff's boring. But I tell you one thing: it has more population than America. I know this. Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Egypt. That's my whole reasoning. Anyways, I think this would have like 600 million people. Anyways, sorry for the yapping. Quick little hint for the next video. But yeah, let's jump straight into the scenario. So the first nation that the Muslim world is going to go after is surprisingly going to be Eritrea. As there's no reason to go after any other. I mean, I guess Israel, but they're too strong and they might use nukes on you. They probably definitely will. By the way, I included Palestine and Kosovo in this just for fun, you know. Honestly, I don't care about politics or anything. I mean, I do, but so what? They're independent on this map, and we're going off the map, not politics. So if you're mad, click off. I don't care. Anyways, back to Eritrea. As Eritrea, you're not gonna exist anymore. And the reason they go after Eritrea is to connect their lands from Somalia and Djibouti. So, yeah, it's kind of simple. This war was won by the Muslim world before it even started. Why can't I scroll up anymore? Anyways, Ethiopia is very worried from this, as they're now pretty much surrounded from almost all sides. And I didn't forget about you, Comoros. I think Comoros is part of this. Anyways, let's come up here, as we're gonna be seeing, these nations, the Muslim world, go after multiple enemies at once, being Georgia, Armenia, Cyprus, Montenegro, and Guinea-Bissau. All of these nations are in the way for easy travel, like easy travel from Bosnia to Albania. Not too easy because you're there. Same thing with the capital of Azerbaijan to the capital of Turkey. And this, obviously. And also Cabo Verde. So, just get them involved. But, going with the trend of this video, it's very simple. As we see all of these nations being invaded, and they all get fully annexed. As it's simple, it's easy to understand, and the Muslim world is way stronger than all these nations combined. So yeah, just know if I get the Arab world and Muslim world mixed up, I don't try to. I'm not trying to. It's just so similar. But I know there's big differences. Like, I think Arab is the ethnicity, while Muslim is, or whatever it's called, is the religion. But yeah, the Muslim world is looking pretty good. They've expanded decently, and they're still number one in the world by land area and military. I wouldn't say population just yet, but soon, 100%. But next nation we're gonna go after is going to be a multitude, the strongest foes they have fought yet. As it's going to be Greece, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Romania, and Israel. Oh yeah, and Papua New Guinea joins this war. They just don't want. I mean, it's mostly the Indonesian part of this nation going after them. Well, like there's all separate parts. Like we have the Stanistan part, the Iranian part, the yeah. And we also have the Balkan part, the Bangladesh part, the North Africa, Horn of Africa. So yeah, there's different sections, like even Arabia. So they don't have to agree, as it's just like I think different parliaments, is it? Anyways, let's get to the Balkan War. As rapidly Israel uses a surprise factor to launch into the Muslim world, as they're able to take what was originally the capital of Jordan, as they do very good, just like in the 6 Days War. But just know that every country that has joined this union willingly wants them to die. So every single parliament is going to send troops here, which with every single part, that's not going to be so good. But yeah, even coming over here, Serbian forces are going to make an advance into Kosovo and Bosnia. As yes, the Muslim world is strong, but it's just they didn't really prepare this area. They didn't really tell the Baltic sector about this war, as it was mostly Turkey that initiated the war. But Turkish forces and Turkish naval vessels are able to take Greek islands. So it's going pretty good so far, but it's also going pretty bad. Papua New Guinea, I'm sorry, Brody, but this is your end. You won't exist after this. But somehow, Bougainville gets free. No one knows how they did this, but they did. And Indonesia also attacks these islands, but they're not going to go after Bougainville because they just got that ore, you know? Anyways, yeah. With going off of this, Israeli forces did have a good first off attack. It's just going up a power way stronger than you doesn't really end up in victory. So yeah, but rapidly, Greek forces are forced to retreat as Athens falls and Turkish forces begin to destroy the central part, leading for Albania to have a massive pushback, while Bosnia makes a slight attack here, finally getting coastline. But yeah, Bulgaria and Romania lose their coastline. This city gets sieged from two sides, and then it actually falls. Greece surrenders after the falling of that city. North Macedonia does too. Sofia dies. Yeah, poor Bulgaria. And then, Bucharest. And then, with more and more forces flooding in, we see this Balkan coalition didn't stand a chance. As we're going to be taking a look at the treaty, as most of these nations won't be fully annexed, so let's take a look at that. So first of all, we're going to be seeing Romania surviving in two separate parts, being this northern one, which is actually Romania, and this one that gets annexed by Hungary in return for their full-fledged friendship. And then we see this happening as Slovenia isn't too strong, but they're also not that weak either, as they gain some land from this, but they also lose some. They gain the rest of Istria, but lose this area. And then the rest, gets fully annexed. Yeah, there's no other option. Sorry, Israel. And over here as well. So yes, this is how the war went. This is probably definitely how it would go in real life. It wouldn't be so swift, but it would definitely end up exactly like this. Maybe not the borders, but it it would end up in the Muslim world's victory. I think. If not, that would be shocking. But yeah, all of these capitals are put down as we see the Arab world being the biggest by land size by far, maybe even being bigger than the Mongol Empire at its territorial peak, having one of the biggest populations, being in Oceania, Africa, Asia, and Europe. There's only 3 continents it's not on, so that is insane. Antarctica is on this map, okay. But now we're going to be taking a look at a massive coalition. China, India, Russia, France, Italy, Spain. As this becomes the unholy alliance. As all of these nations band together to stop expansion of the Muslim world. As this is the most unholy alliance you will ever see. As it has nations like America, most of Europe, Australia working together with Russia and China. And we even got North and South Korea working together over here. And this is where we're going to be seeing the biggest thing happening. As coming over here, we see kind of a country draft. As Vietnam pledges their loyalty to the Muslim world, while the rest do this. But as tensions rapidly rise in the region, the blue team opens fire on Vietnam forces right here after Vietnam forces raise their guns. Keep in mind, the blue team raised their guns first, so Vietnam raised their guns in preparation. But the blue team opened fire. They didn't advance. But we see the Great War, or the Great War of Muslim supremacy. As all of these nations, the biggest war in human history, as it's the Arab world going up against pretty much everyone. And you might be like, they don't stand a chance, Shrimpify. Why are you doing this war? It's because they do. As after they took Israel, they started their own nuclear program in secret. So, they have nukes as well. So, it's more like Russia still has the most nukes, America has the second most, and then Arabia, or the Muslim world, and then China. So that's how nuclear warheads are right now. But during this war, a massive nuclear arms race begins. But we see rapidly Chinese forces push into Vietnam. As Vietnam, they don't stand a chance alone. As, I'm sorry to say this, Vietnam, but you're weak compared to this coalition. We see Indonesian forces taking Bougainville and making multiple naval landings across northern Australia, showing that if you want to fight, we will gladly fight you. As they also launch an attack on Thailand up here, showing that they will fight as long as they can for loyalty to Baghdad. Indian forces flood into these areas with not too much resistance. But up here, this is where we see the most casualties in any battles. This is the most deadly battles in human history, as Chinese, American, Russian, and North and South Korean forces are fighting here. While we have every a Muslim nation fighting here as well, with deadly clashes happening everywhere. This is pure chaos. The Muslim world invading from the Stanistans is able to take this, and they cut off this area, which is not really that big of a deal. It just cuts off logistics, and if Chinese forces need to get through here to Moscow, for example, they're gonna have to go all the way around Mongolia. Unless, as we see rapidly, Chinese and Russian forces flood into Mongolia, but the Muslim world also makes an attack into Mongolia, just making logistics even harder. I mean, not really, because now they have an easier passage. But did I mention Taiwan even joins this coalition? And the Philippines decides to join the Red Team. Just to please their Muslim population. Because the Muslim population said, if you don't join this war on the side of the Red Team, we will kill you. And your entire family. So, yeah. Coming over here, I'm sorry to say this, Hungary, but you're fucked. Hungary literally gets obliterated so quickly. But the Muslim world is able to do a pretty decent job fighting over here, as they're able to take the capital Moldova and push against Russian and Western forces. But America makes a naval landing right here, using their superior navy and military, destroying the area, as they even make a landing down here. But we see the Arab world send diplomats to Nigeria and the DR Congo, but not the governments. They send them to the people, using very outdated propaganda strategies, but it works, as the Arab populations in these nations begin to rapidly rise up, as I'm not sure where the Muslim populations are in these nations, so I'm just gonna color random areas. But yeah, this propaganda strategy works decently well. What is happening? But yeah, as these areas rapidly rise up, and all of these areas do too, as the Muslim populations are able to knock out these nations, which causes a domino effect, not surrendering, which tells the governments that they have to join. But around the world, this also begins to happen, as since India has a massive Arab population, Muslims around the country begin to rapidly rise up behind enemy lines, and this becomes not good for India, as with rebels surging in massive populated areas, we see the failed occupation of Bangladesh, and all of these areas breaking away, as India looks at all of these rebels even forming behind enemy lines, and they rapidly begin to realize that if they don't stop fighting, their government will be overthrown. And with these massive populations, India, on March 8th, y'all give it a year, after a couple weeks after their capital falls, India officially surrenders for the first time in history. I mean, yeah. the Chinese are forced to flood forces into this area to keep control over it and keep the Muslim world from their borders. And we see the war rapidly changing. As these nations down here, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're cooked. Except some holdouts in Ethiopia that are being squished every single day. America is kicked out of down here, as they mostly stick to the coast, not trying to go deep into the Sahara, but in areas that they did, they were kicked out pretty easily. But coming back up to Europe, we see the Muslim world wanting to get back into Spain. 700 years wasted just for them to come back way stronger and possibly take over the whole peninsula. As centuries passed, 7 to be exact, and Madrid still falls to the one thing you spent almost 1,000 years trying to destroy. I mean, at least from your peninsula. And they even take your islands, which is just disrespectful. France rapidly moves forces in, but it's not enough. As they run over these mountains in tanks, as tanks somehow roll through mountains, as France also begins to rapidly fall. As the world watches as the war for Muslim superiority is rapidly turning into Muslims' favor. Sorry if that's racist. I mean, I just don't know any other names to call y'all, which I'm sorry about. I'll hopefully try to do research, but yeah. Anyways, Australia begins to rapidly lose land, and we see the Muslim world sending a diplomat to America, Russia, and China, being like, "Hey, we're chill. We don't really want to fight y'all. Y'all opened fire first, and we're kicking your ass. So hopefully you understand that we're winning and there's nothing you could do about it. So just either peace out now and we're chill. You won't lose that much land. I won't lose any land. And we'll be chill." But no, Russia, China, and America have to be cocky. So once Italy falls, this is kind of the straw for America. They tell the Muslim world that they're chill. We never really wanted to fight in the first place. We just didn't like that you were gaining superiority over the world. But after this, America is just like, yeah, you won. We hate to say it, but you won. Stalingrad falls from the south, or what used to be Stalingrad. I don't know what it's called now. Kiev and Minsk falls. France, after they're cut off from Germany, they decide to surrender. The British go into civil war with the Scottish, pledging their loyalty to the Muslim world. No one knows why they did this. Most people just say it's an excuse to have a reason to escape from the British Isles. Germany, these nations surrender. And, with this, the Muslim world just pushes to Moscow. They're not able to take it, but this threat alone tells Russia, like, hey, Russia is like, hey, we don't want to fight no more. As they also surrender. They don't really surrender, they just say, hey, we chill, right? Japan decides to be like, no. But China, they decide to keep going. they're like, oh, well, we're stronger, we have more population. But that doesn't really matter, especially when the Muslim world is destroying your southern neighbors to an extent that you are rapidly losing land. Mongolia is reliberated, except this land, and China and the Koreas decide to come to terms with the Arab world, the Muslim world, with Australia being the last one to leave the war, actually. After all of this land was lost, even after losing Sydney, they kept fighting. But once they lose Melbourne, that's when they call it the line. America has stopped fighting. I don't know why they're still colored blue. But China, the Ethiopian holdouts, which fall around this time, as the world watches as the Muslims are the dominant religion, mostly because of some not so nice things that they were doing to the peoples of. Yeah. So that's gonna be it for this video. If you enjoyed, you should probably like and subscribe. I think this is a very interesting scenario. And yeah, have a wonderful day and keep chasing your goals. So stop recording. Why is it still